Welcome back, Raw Thoughts listeners, to another episode with me, Mackenzie Tiggs. Today, I have William Winfield from Atlanta, Georgia, on with us today, getting to talk about really some of his trials, where he's been able to triumph through that, and where he is today. So, William, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, come on. Too easy. Glad to be here. I'm honored. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your background. I mean, you've had some financial struggles, you've grown up with no dad, there's a lot of these barriers, things that could keep you down, but you have been able to really press through that. Tell us a little bit what your background is.
Yeah, man. So, I'll start here, man. I think it's powerful to start here. March 25th, 1991, Rhode Island Hospital. My mom and me, I was fighting for my life. The umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck and I was losing oxygen. And so the doctors had to rush into the emergency room to perform an emergency C-section. And it's funny, man. I remember, having this conversation with my mom. Like, Mom, tell me a little bit about that experience. Like, what was that like, right? And my mom was
Yeah.
like, listen, baby, because she's from Zebulon, North Carolina, so that's how she sounds, right? So she's like, listen, baby. To be honest with you, I loved you, but I was more intrigued by the handsome doctor, Caucasian man, blue eyes, handsome as get out, right? And I remember, like, she said the doctor raised you up and hit you on the bum, boom, right? And then she looked at the doctor and she said, "Is he alive?" And she's gazing in the doctor's eyes and she said, "No." And he hit him again, boom. She said, "The doctor hit you the second time." You said, "I'm still looking at his handsome eyes." I'm like, "Is he alive?" The doctor like, "I'm pretty sure you're gonna be after this one." Boom. And I started yelling. And so whenever my mom told me that story, I just started rolling. I'm like, "Ma, so you mean to tell me the bill go right around my neck and you over here flirting with the doctor?" I'm like, "Come on, man. Like, this is crazy, right?" And I think it's very important that I start there because I will pretty much I'm not supposed to be here, right? So I was already fighting inside the womb. I was already fighting for the legacy, fighting for my purpose, and fighting for success, and fighting to make humanity better, right? And so from there, I always ask my mom, I was like, "Mom, where's my dad at?" My dad never was around. I seen him come one time for Christmas when I was 8 years old. Dropped off some presents, and I never seen him again after that. And I asked my mom, I said, where's my dad at, during these tough moments and stuff like that? Because, of course, my mom had government assistance and, there was troubling times where we had heat, what I'm saying? Sometimes we wouldn't have heat. Sometimes we had electricity, eviction notice on the door. And so it was just really to those moments like one day, man, I'm going to change my mom's life. And I remember, back in the day, these kids nowadays have the luxury of having these beautiful TVs. We had that box TV. You know what I'm saying? With the aluminum foil joint, you got to turn it one way to be able to get that channel to come in. And I always said, man, like one day I'm gonna be able to change my mom's life. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I know one day I'm gonna be that one to change my mom's life. And so not having my dad in my life, and my mom had a lot of depression, and so she had to be admitted into the hospital, into a psych ward because she had a nervous breakdown. And from that moment, I ended up going into four different foster care homes. One home was a Caucasian family, treated me like gold. I mean, like straight gold. Like, and it was the first time in my life that I seen a mother and father together. I'm like, yo, this is what I want. Just to see the dynamics and the camaraderie, like how they connected. I was just like, man, I need that. And then I ended up going to another home, African American home, and it was just like, oh my God. And this home was the home to where their daughter molested me. Crazy, right? Like molesting me. She told me she came in the room, literally, at nighttime. She said, had her hand on my mouth. She said, "If you ever say anything to anybody, I will kill you." That's what she told me. And so I'm sitting there just so young, what I'm saying, going through something. I'm like, yo, why me? Like, why am I going? I just want my mom. I want to be with my mom. I want to hug my mom and all that. And my mom in the hospital still trying to, navigate through her issues and things like that. And so, I go to another home, which was, one of my mom's quote unquote best friends. And they had me, stay with them for quite some time. But I thought that I would be treated the way that they showed how they loved my mom, but they really didn't love my mom. They love what they love what they can get from her. And
Mm.
so, they had me sleep in the room with, cats, cat litter, cat urine. I mean, it was crazy. And they said I deserved to stay there. And, the last one I ended up staying with was with my mom's best friend, Kimberly, who I consider my spiritual mom and just, a lot of guidance and help and things of that nature. And she treated me like gold, and I was finally being able to be reunited with my mom. And from there, I just started saying like I just got to make great decisions, and I got to do what I need to do to make sure that my mom's good. So I would start there for sure.
That's a lot already to start off with.
No,
I mean, bouncing around. It's so interesting that you asked your mom, like, what was, that's actually not something that I've asked my mom. Like, what was it like? What was that experience for you, from having to birth me, but then also have this, and your voice of her is my favorite. So you're bouncing around to all of these homes. You're seeing what maybe a good, family dynamic is. You're in and out. Did you ever get rekindled back with your mom after that?
oh yeah, yeah. As soon as I left Kimberly, I remember my mom. I'll never forget. I was watching this cartoon called Joseph Prince of Dreams, and I remember my mom. There was a knock at the door, and my spiritual mom went to open up the door, and it was my mom. She got released from the hospital, and I remember giving her the biggest hug ever.
Mm,
I'm like, Mom, where are we going? She said, Don't worry, baby, we got a home. We're gonna be good. God gonna take care of everything, things of that nature. And I was like, All right, cool. You know what I'm saying? And so, that's when I got reunited with my mom after I left Kimberly's house. And so from then on, of course, growing up didn't have much, but what we did have, we made the best of it, and we utilized it to, the best of our ability. And so, that's one of the things that my mom's always taught me is that you in this life, you got to take whatever it gives you, and you got to learn how to make the best of it. And so, that's what I just did every single day of my life from that moment forward.
yeah. What was it like? I mean, growing up, did you grow up in Atlanta?
No,
Where did you grow up?
nope, I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay, so what was like the culture or like the dynamics of where you lived growing up?
Yeah, so where I live, very urban community, a lot of Hispanics, a little tab of Portuguese individuals, a lot of African Americans for sure. It was very diverse, very quick, fast paced. I mean, super fast paced. I'm like, oh my God, like super fast paced. And just like I felt like the community that we was in for sure is just like you know, it was a blessing because you had like mentors that you didn't even know that were mentors at the time. Of course, you had your violence, your fights, and things of that nature. But for the most part, it was a great diverse community to where you can learn about different cultures and definitely understand other people's perspectives and how they view things in the world. So yeah.
Yeah. And growing up, I can just see how easy it could have been to going to drugs, to going to other vices, because that's kind of the culture that you're around. How did you help prevent yourself from going down those roads, or did you get stuck in those roads?
Oh yeah. I definitely had my fair share, especially after I graduated high school. You know what I'm saying? Like for sure, definitely had those issues. But one of the things that I did find out, about my father that he was an alcoholic. And I was like, well, I don't never want to be an alcoholic. But of course, when you're in school, you have these peer pressures, right? Hey, come on, let's go to the club. Hey, come on, let's go to this house party, skip school, all this crazy stuff, smoke a little bit of weed and things of that nature. I've done alcohol, I've done weed, but I've never, got addicted to it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
And how was that transition from like out of high school? Where did you find yourself trying to navigate through life and figuring out what you wanted to do and where to go and what to do?
Yeah, got you. So I remember when I graduated in 2010, I said I need money, flat out. I said I need to go get me a job because I know my mom wasn't going to be, taking care of me for the rest of my life. And so I remember getting a job at a recycling company in Franklin, Massachusetts called Jayco Environmental. And I stayed there for about a good 3 to 5 years, around that range. And they paid good. You know what I'm saying? I love it. Very hard work, very demanding work, but it definitely paid its dues. I was able to, get me a car. I was able to get me an apartment. I felt good. I felt like I was the man. You know what I'm saying? Like, can't nobody tell me nothing. And, one of the things that I realized was that you know, a lot of times we try to become so comfortable because of what we're making, or we don't want to go to another level in life. And, I found out one moment to when I had to go into the office and talk to one of my bosses, Phil. and he had to lay us all off. Literally, like from the bottom of the pole, he had to lay us all off. And that moment, I said, man, like I'm never gonna give another man power over my life. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember taking that drive all the way from Franklin, Massachusetts, back to Rhode Island. Tears in my eyes, trying to figure out how I'm gonna make this stuff work, how I'm gonna make this stuff happen. You know, by that time, I had a son by the name of Jamon. He's 14 now, but at that time, he was like 4. And I'm like, man, like I just lost this job. I got to take care of him. I had the mother of my kids there. I had my mom staying with me as well. And I had to go and break that bad news. And so I became homeless after that. And when I became homeless after that, I ended up sleeping, in my car, bouncing house to house. My mom went to go stay with her friend. The mother of my kids and I, we didn't mesh anymore. We ended up dissolving that relationship. Um, And so I ended up getting a job at a homeless shelter. Funny, because in those moments right there, from the moment I left Jayco Environmental up until I was about to get that job at the homeless shelter, I was in a place in my life where I was on my spiritual journey. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom was, she brought me to church and that nation, but I didn't really want nothing to do with that because I seen how, the different things was happening. And I said to myself, I said, God, if you're real, you know what I'm saying, make the situation different. And I remember my mom called me one night after I, got a place to stay at my friend's house, Gilbert Augustive. Got to stay with him and his mom. And literally that next morning, I got a call from my mom. She said, "Baby, you want to go to church?" I said, "Yes, man." Went to church, and she brought me, and we just, was in there. And I didn't go in the front because I felt like I didn't deserve to be up there. All that stuff, just a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. And I remember from that moment forward, my life changed, like my whole perspective on how I treat a human being, how I talk to somebody. And it was funny, like, because I was making fun of homeless people. And as I was making fun of homeless people, right, God was like, the same people that you made fun of are going to be the same people you're going to work with.
Mm.
So it was in those moments where I got that job at House of Hope. Never forget in Harrington Hall in Cranston, Rhode Island. Had a conversation with an older gentleman who wanted to leave the shelter, wanted to commit suicide, didn't want nothing to do with life no more. And I remember just speaking life to him, just say, "Hey, man, you're worth it. You take your life, none of that." And protocol is in the shelter, you got to take the client down, wait for the ambulance, have the ambulance escort them out. 2 weeks later, come back. My friend Jerome Hines was like, "Hey, Will, Anthony's here. He wants to talk to you." I'm like, "Oh Lord, not Anthony again." Like, you know what I'm saying? But talk to Anthony, and pretty much he just gave me the biggest hug in the world. Like, I mean, like squeeze me. This man was like 66 years old, just squeezing me. And I'm just like, wow. He said, "Because of you, William, I didn't kill myself. You
Wow.
know, I listened to what you said, and I needed that." And so from that moment, I realized that my words had power. Yeah.
That's really incredible, especially being in such a vulnerable state and you being able to provide, like, no, you are worth something. You are, in a dark place right now, but that doesn't mean that you're going to always be there. And I mean, I just feel so much power behind that as well, because it's like I've been the one in the ambulance coming to get these people, and so when people ask me, they're like, how did you get into this? I'm like, I was the person that was getting called, to these situations. And it's like, I knew that there had to be something occurring before that. Like, what are we doing before we get called? And those were always the situations that, like really stuck with me. And so it's interesting that you said that, right? Like, it's like you talked him down, but then where do you go after that? Well, you call usually 911 officer. It's usually the medical field that comes and gets them, takes them to the hospital. Like, it's this whole cycle, right? And so after he came back and he said that to you, you knew that you basically had saved this gentleman's life. Like, what was that next step for you?
Man, it's funny, man, because after that, man, my friend Braulio Ortiz, man, shout out to Braulio Ortiz if you're listening to this when it's dropped, man. He came to me afterwards. He was like, "Hey, man, you want to come and work at a drug rehab facility?" I was like, "Well, bet, say less." I said, "Yeah," you know what I'm saying. And the reason why I did it is because and I know I started where I started at in the beginning, but my mom was a recovering drug addict. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying. So she battled with cocaine and heroin, a lot of that growing up, and so I said, yeah, and I did it because I wanted to, hear the pains and the hurts of these people to really understand, like, why did my mom do what she did? You feel what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And so I said, yeah, absolutely. So I ended up working at the Providence Center. And this is where I can honestly say that I've crafted the brand Will is Blessed, Preach Will, Don't Live Just to Exist, Live to Be Remembered. Like all of that happened there. I don't have no college degree, but I do have a degree in wisdom. I do have a degree in perseverance. I do have a degree in, grit. And so I remember, one day I was just like, hey, can I do, a presentation in front of the guys, and these guys are like 35, 45, 55, 60, some 70. I'm like, well, here I am. I'm like 23, 24. I'm like, what am I going to tell these dudes about life? So I'm walking in there, arms all sweating and stuff like that. I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it. But I just spoke from the heart. And the message I remember is, eagles do not stress the opinions of pigeons. And I remember I spoke for 40 minutes. That was my first keynote ever. You know what I'm saying?
You're like, I've arrived.
Yeah, like what? And so I remember, after the presentation, I did not know that there was two young gentlemen in the back. Well, one young, one older that was about to leave the program in OD. They already had their bags packed in their room. They were about to leave, go OD, be done with life. And I remember Vanessa, who was one of the counselors at that time, she came up to me. She said, William. I said, what's going on? She said, just want to let you know that these two guys, they was about to leave the program, and they said your words,
Mm,
what you told them, how you told them, but they said that they want to finish. Now watch this. That's why I tell people there's a difference between motivation and empowerment, right? Motivation wears off, right? But empowerment stays there in those moments to where you're like, man, like I gotta keep going. And literally to this day, they're clean. They got their kids, they got their job, they got their grandbabies. I'm like, yo,
hmm.
this is powerful. I'm like, what? And I still stay in communication with them and just, just to see where they're at now and how they just, made a decision, that life's more worth than that little piece of, crack cocaine or heroin or fentanyl, whatever it may be. They realize I have a sense of purpose now. You know what I'm saying? And so, um, that right there, man. It's just that whole dynamics right there. I'm just like, yeah, like I knew it was over. I knew it was over right there.
Wow. So what did you do after knowing that, right? And you see that empowerment, because like you said, the empowerment is that they have radically rethought and reframed their beliefs. Like it is not just a motivation where it's like, oh, it's like a short sprint for motivation, right? An empowerment is that they have restructured their thinking in a new way that you have brought them, and then now you're like, okay, let's forge forward through this. So you see this happening, you have this occur right in front of your eyes. How did you not let the world, not let other barriers come down on you, because such a unique gift and quality that you've been given, and it's not your, I'm going to say, quote unquote traditional way of having a degree or doing something, but yet you still forge forward and you're like, I'm gonna make a difference. Like, how did you know you were gonna take that next step to make a difference for
Yeah,
more people to hear that, you know?
for sure, definitely. I think from that moment I put two and two together. I said, okay, hold up, wait a minute. You impacted somebody at a homeless shelter with words. Then you come here and you impact somebody else with words. I'm not, the smartest knife, sharpest knife in the drawer, but I do know how to make sense, right? And the common sense was, Will, like, you need to be speaking flat out. Like, you need to be speaking. I don't care if it's a cat, if it's a dog, somebody need what you got. And so for me, I just picked my phone up and I was just like, I started making phone calls. I'm like, yo, hey, I think I got a great message for youth. And I would love to come and talk to youth about perseverance. Flat out.
Mm,
That was it. And I just made some calls and they're like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And my first presentation with youth was actually with an organization called Youth Build. I remember Elijah Stevens gave me the opportunity to come and speak and pour into 20 young men. And I remember the message, it was the Lions mentality. And after I got done with that presentation, like, two of them came up to me like, yo, I needed that. I was about to leave here and go shoot somebody, all this crazy stuff. I'm like, man, nah, you ain't got to do that, man. Like, You got purpose, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to be, your identity is not in a gun. You know what I'm saying? Your identity is in your purpose. I need you to find your purpose. I need you to find your calling, right? That's why you're here on this earth. So, make humanity better. And so for me, I just like, yo, like it's not deep. It's like, yo, Will, you got words, your words got power. And then from there, from youth build, I just started speaking in schools and schools to colleges, and then from colleges to corporations, and it was just over after that. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. Where have you been able to, you know, see these things where you've been able to stop them? Like you said, that guy that wanted to go out and shoot somebody, like, where do you think in your message that resonated with them, where they're like, right at that instant, where they're like, oh, that was a bad choice that I was going to go do, whether that go be shoot somebody else or go shoot themselves or go shoot up something, right? Like, where do you think that pivotal moment is in your messaging that it resonates with them so deeply that they actually stop for a second and they're like, oh, that's not a good choice. I'm also going to tell you that's not a good choice, but like in your messaging, where do you think that is that it like just snaps them?
Well, when I talked about earlier with my mom situation, like I told him, like, yo, you gotta have a why. Period. Like, if you're out here doing what you do, if you're taking a test for you, of course you're gonna let somebody distract you. Of course, you're gonna do the wrong things. Of course, you're gonna allow peer pressure to, make you do things that you know you're not supposed to be doing. So I just told him my story about my mom and how my dad was in my life, and because my dad was absent, he couldn't pour into me what it is like to be a man. And so I know a lot of you are young men, and I want to show you what it is, whether you got a father or not, or maybe your father is, present, but he's still absent because he's always working all these hours to provide for the family. And so I told him, literally, man, like, you got to really hold on to your why, your reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, before you do anything, think about your mom. Before you do anything, think about your little brother who's watching. Think about your little sister who's watching. Like, your decisions will shape your destiny. And so you got to be very aware. You got to have this awareness, right? Like, shout out to the GOAT, Tom Brady, right? Like, he has this thing called awareness when he's in that pocket. He knows he can feel when somebody's about to hit him. He knows when he got to move a little bit. He knows when he got to move up a little bit. But at the end of the day, he trusts the individuals who's protecting him. And so I said,
Mm,
got to find people that can protect you. You got to find people got your interest, your best interest at heart. You know what I'm saying? You got to find people that want you to win and excel. And if they don't want you to, you need to be around them. And I know you may
mhm,
not get it now, but maybe 3 years later, you're gonna remember me, and you're gonna be like, man, I should have just listened to what Will said because it made sense. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I think the why part for sure.
yeah. And that brings a good question of like, how did you find people to mentor you and to have that fatherly figure over you because you didn't have that?
Yeah. So one of my first mentors was Bishop James H. Cook, and I'll never forget. He poured a lot into me from the ministry perspective, and just outside of ministry, just fatherhood. You know, what I'm saying he's taught me a lot of things, and then from there, I just started saying, like I'm attracted to wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Like I've always been, an old soul. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't trying to do all these young kids are doing. Um, but for me, just having conversations with individuals like Bishop James H. Cook, Brother Ray, Kobe Dennis, these individuals just poured little things into me. I took those pieces. I'm like, okay, you told me what I should do and what I should not do. And I would
Mm,
also say, even my past, like just learning from what my dad did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do not want to do that. I do not want to be an alcoholic, an absent father. Even my brother, you know what I'm saying? Selling drugs, you know what I'm saying? Going around, flashing money. I'm like, I'm not on none of that, right? Like my whole perspective is just like, I always wanted to be a great father. That's first and foremost. I always wanted to see how I can make somebody else's life better. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a simple conversation or just being somebody that can listen, you know what I'm saying? So just learning from all these other individuals and just taking a little bit of James H. Cook, taking a little bit of Brother Ray, taking a little bit of Kobe Dennis, taking a little bit of my dad, taking a little bit of my brother. I'm like, okay, like at the end of the day, Will, you got to make a decision, and just know that the decision that you make is going to determine the life that you're going to have. Yep.
yeah, I think that's very powerful in saying that as well. How is that, your baby mama that kind of dissolved
Yeah.
those kids? Where is your like you as a father right now in your life?
Man, listen, like, I love it. I love it. I love it. Right, man. Where I'm at right now, and for me, man, I had a lot of animosity to the mother of my kids. Like we wasn't getting along at all. I mean, we hated each other. And then I had to get to a point in my life where I said, you know what, like, well, at the end of the day, she's always going to be in your life, whether you like it or not, right? And so for me, I had to say to myself, let's not make this hard. Let's make this easier. And so, I just had to be the bigger man because sometimes, people are not willing to, be the bigger person. They was trying to argue more. They was trying to point that. I said, you know what? Sometimes I'm gonna shut up and just listen. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I understand that that's not really you. You're just speaking from a place of pain, or you're speaking from a place like you still want to be with me. And we know that's not the reality, right? And so I'm like, okay, how can I help you the best that I can, right? How can I add value to you? And man, right now, the relationship that we have, phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? I'm always, checking in, making sure, hey, do you need anything good? Are the boys good? You know what I'm saying? These things like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to be a blessing as much as I can because, if I'm trying to go into the route of the greats, like Dr. King, as we was talking about, right? Dr. King, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, these iconic individuals that will forever be remembered in history, then you have to be the bigger person and you have to learn how to love people where they're at. And sometimes by you loving them where they're at, it's just going to make peace at the end of the day. May not be right then and there, but eventually it'll make some type of peace. You know what I'm saying? And so right now the relationship is phenomenal. I love my boys. I love my daughter. Um, it's just a blessing to just be to them what my dad wasn't to me. Yeah.
Hmm. And I think that can happen so many times where, people fall into this victimhood where they're like, well, I didn't get a good example, or I didn't have that, or I didn't get that, and blah, 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 all these things. And it's like one of the greatest gifts to us is being able to say, that's not what I want to be like. Being able to say, like, I want to be just like that person, it is putting so much power into what their decisions are and not in what your decisions are. And when you can look at something and say, who do I want to be? Who do I want to become? How do I want to treat people? It is also so very important for you to know what you don't want to be like.
Mhm.
That helps you stay to a path where you're like, I don't want to go down that route, right? Like, I don't want to treat people like that. Because I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to be a recipient of someone that's, shedding their pain on you and doesn't give you the time to listen and doesn't, see you. It's like if I didn't get that from other people, then why would I give that to people?
That's right.
I don't want to be like that. So these are the things that I'm going to not do so I don't act that way.
Mm, that's good. That's heavy right there. You preaching. You better go ahead.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Oh, that's super awesome. So where have you found yourself? I mean, you're talking with schools, you're preaching in your own ways, right? You're talking about all these trials and triumphs that you have gone through. But like how for you as a person of William, do you continue to wake up every single day to know that you're going down the route that you want to, but yet life can still be really hard and life can still be really dark, even if we know what our passion is, even when we know what our purpose and our mission and our vision, all of these things. It doesn't mean that, okay, yes, I have a mission and a vision for my life. That doesn't mean that it's going to exclude all of the bad things happening to us. So, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, man. I stay real grounded in my faith, man. I stay real grounded in my faith. That's first and foremost. After that, man, I just surround myself with people who can hold me accountable. Flat out. Like I'm around people every day that be like, well, yeah, that sounds dumb. Shouldn't be doing it. You know what I'm saying? I have myself around people that can help me be in a better position than when I was like literally like 3 years ago. I was contemplating committing suicide. You know what I'm saying? Like this stuff, like I tell people like business, entrepreneur, it sounds good, it looks good, but it's a lot that goes behind it. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
not built to carry that weight, I'm telling you right now, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it, right? And so, I'm definitely around, great men, great women, great people that can pour into me, that can lift me up in these moments throughout that feeling discouraged, or even when I'm up, you know what I'm saying, to tell me like, well, that's good, but you gotta take it to another level, right? And just always thinking about that next level. Like, okay, you've done this, right? I've heard a wise man say something before. He said the greatest enemy of progress is your last success. And
Mm,
so I don't get caught up on what I did. I get focused on what I'm about to do, right? And so always having that mentality, just having that switch in you, it's just like, like you got to do more because your time is limited. And so, we're on borrowed time, and I got to be able to leverage the time and use it to the best of my advantage to make sure that I'm here, that kids are straight, people in my company are straight, and just making sure that my name is great.
yeah. Tell us a little bit about you getting into that situation of wanting to commit suicide and
Yeah,
having those thoughts.
yeah. So 3 years ago, man, I was just like, table, just like nothing is hitting. Posting content, I'm doing offers, I'm speaking, and I just found myself in a depressed state. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, man, like I just want to throw it all away. I want nothing to do with it. Like I'm just done. And I've battled with suicidal thoughts like years. You know what I'm saying? And every now and then, of course, it's gonna keep trying to hit me and stuff like that. But that's why people that can push me. But those moments, man, that you know, I was just like, yo, man, like this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm doing my best. I'm pouring my heart and soul on every video. I'm making sure that I'm making the world a better place. And it seems like the people out here who don't care about people seem like they're getting, so much further. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is it so hard for me, to just break, and go out here and make more impact? And so, I was just like, man, bump it. I'm about to just be done, hang myself and call it a day. And so, but I remember, seeing my daughter, seeing my sons. And remember, we talked about why. So for me, that why is so powerful, right? Understanding that, hey, like, don't go out like no punk. Don't let life take you out, right? If you're gonna go out when the Lord tell you to go out, not you trying to go out because you didn't get a like. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't get a couple views. Like that's what we're talking about. Because you didn't make no money for a week. Like you're gonna let that know. Like this is what you signed up for. You're a leader. And too much is given, much is required. Or what Aunt May says in Spider Man, with great power comes great responsibility. You got to carry the weight of that responsibility if you want the power to change lives. So, yeah.
That's such a good reminder, especially for people in the entrepreneur space where, there is so much that you get told no time and time and time and time and time again. And then it's just that one yes, and then it catapults you, right? And it's like, that is why you do have to keep showing up every single day. And the days that you need more rest, take it.
Yeah.
Like you have to take that rest for yourself to continue to keep going. Like it is not something that we can just full throttle every single day, 100%, fake it till you make it, like keep on going, even when I don't feel good. And it's like, no, that's where you get to speak up. You get to have your own duty over yourself and say, hey, I can't continue to do this at the pace that I'm going. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm going to be grateful for what I have because I've worked hard for what I do have for right now, right? But yet you can kind of bask in what you have already accomplished. And I think that's what so many people forget about is like they forget to be grateful for right where they are. They do want that next level. They do want that next push. They do want that next catapult. But it's like, you also did that to get where you are today. Be thankful for that.
That's good. That's good. Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's the energy for me. Yes. I love
Oh, it's just, it's silly. Like and it's things that I find myself in.
it.
Like they're not things that I'm just like, oh, I read this from a book and this happened. No, it's like, last Thursday, I didn't brush my teeth or take a shower till about 3 p.m. And I had a great day. I was I did work, I got stuff done at home, but I did it at a slower pace. I was not here and there and everywhere. Like, you know what? If I did some emails and I sat down on the couch and read a book, like, cool. I have that ability. Like, that's why I want to live this entrepreneur life, because that is what we're chasing, right? We're chasing this freedom. But what happens if we don't ever take those chances that we're building the freedom for? We're not really doing anything, right? And then that next day, the Friday, it's like, cool. I was up at, meetings by 9, and, my last meeting got done at 7 p.m. And it's like, that was a grinding day. I was thankful for the day before where I got to have more rest. I got to be at a slower pace. I got to re-energize myself, be home, be away from other people's energies, be away from other people's, hustle and bustle. And then yet the next day, I got to provide that for my people. I got to be able to push for that. I got to be able to have that high energy. I got to be able to show people, right? Like, hey, I rested. And then the next day, I got to push more. Like, these things that, even I speak and talk to you about is like, it's because it's lived experience. Like, that is why it's impactful.
You, yeah, you spitting right now. Yeah, you talking now. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Oh, like I can get it. I can get on a little, like, that's why I'm wanting to take, my next step into speaking, because just like there's been people that I have been able to save their lives outside of being a paramedic, and I just this last Saturday competed in the Great American Speak Off. So a lot of my listeners know that I competed in it. It's basically like the American Idol, but for speakers.
Okay.
And it was treacherous. Like, I had so many emotions coming out of that, and it was a whirlwind. And it's like, I know that I love doing this. I want to be able to catapult myself to the next level. And and it's just a passion of mine. It's a passion to be able to use my words in a way that people can understand it and then be like, "Oh, I never thought of it like that," or, "Oh, that's a new perspective," right? Like, we all give new perspectives to people. We all give new ways of thinking, because all of our variables in life are different. So it's like, if you're open to listening, to how other people have lived their life, it can then internally help you. And it just was wild. And the coming back to like the speaking was, one of my speeches that I talked about was like, there needs to be more done before people pull the trigger, right? People, there needs to be more power and empowerment in people before that hanging, right? Like, you talking about your story is like, you've been able to be there for other people through their suicidal ideations and thoughts, and knowing what to do. But then we never really know when it's going to be us. And you found yourself, and you said, "Hey, this is this it's a familiar place. I've seen other people in it." You were able to stop those thoughts yourself. You were able to say, "Hey, I need to pause. What am I actually doing? What am I actually thinking?" And that right there, so many people don't have the bandwidth to do. So many people don't have the resources to be able to do it. And that's where it's hard for them to reach out. It's hard for them to talk with other people. It's hard for them to say, "Hey, I'm in a deep spot," or, "I'm in a dark spot." And it's like, through that, you being able to have those pillars around you, you being able to have those frontline people, right? Like, talk about Tom Brady or whoever being quarterbacks, right? They have their people to protect them. They have their team around them, because when they're not okay, they have more than one person to be able to lean on. Like, I think so many people forget in life that you are not supposed to do this alone.
Whew. That's a fact. That's good. Mhm.
But nobody knows how to be those pillars for you until you ask them, until you talk with them. Like, they identify them, right? Like, write them on a piece of paper. When I feel like I need to, be in a network, I've got this person. When I need to be, reminded to go out hiking, I've got this person. When I need to be reminded that, fuck, I can speak, I've got this person.
So,
And then it happens in the reverse as well.
mm,
You're able to also be able to be there for them.
that's good, man. That's the sign, man. And that's the thing, man. Like, don't forget about the power of documentation. I don't know what it is, but it's just something when you start scribing, oh man, like forget it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and what you're saying, man, is so true, man, because I think a lot of people talk about how to teach people how to make money, how to start classes, how to speak. But nobody teaches people how to navigate through those dark moments, right? Like nobody really talks about, they love to talk about the top of the view. Nobody loves to talk
Hmm.
about that drop of it. You know what I'm saying? And those things that
Yeah.
you encounter on a day-to-day basis. You're gonna have your good days, your bad days. You may have a good day, for maybe the next 3 months. And then the rest of the year may be like, well, damn, like what's going on here, right? And those are the moments to where you got to go back to your paper and you got to say, man, like I got to get connected with X, Y, and Z. I got to follow, hey, hold me accountable. This is the way I felt a couple of weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? So, long story short, what we're trying to tell y'all is don't be afraid to ask for help. We
Yep.
all gonna need some help. We're all gonna go through something. Like you're not exempt from it. I don't care how much money you have, or if you don't have no money. Like we're all gonna go through something. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you got the right people around you that can pour into you when you can't pour into anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so, I think there's so much benefit of you being able to talk about your pitfalls as well, because when you go onto your social media or you see yourself, you see the perception of successful.
Oof.
I see a perception of successful, but I don't know what's deeper. I don't know what's behind the walls. And it's like, this is why I have this podcast, because yes, you are successful. Yes, you are pushing. Yes, you are leveling up, but that does not, disregard that also hard things happen to you as well.
No, that's facts. That's 100. As the young kids say, that's 100. Keep it 100. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. What more about like you as a person would you say to be able to help our listeners today really understand like that they can get through what they're going through?
Man, man, I would say to anybody who's watching this amazing podcast is number one, know that you're not alone. You're not the only one that's been through what you've been through. Somebody out there has battled with what you're battling, whether it's a divorce, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, whether it's suicidal thoughts. Somebody out there has dealt with something that you have dealt with. Like the second thing I want you to understand is that the world needs your story, not an actual book. I'm not telling you to write a book. If you want to write a book, go write a book. You know what I'm saying? Have fun with it, right? But what I'm telling you is that every one of us have the ability to create a New York Times bestseller. And
Hmm.
here's the thing: if you continue to allow life to stop you, the world's never going to be able to read your story, right? And
Hmm.
so, don't don't be afraid to share your scars. Don't be afraid to talk about those things that you feel like somebody's going to make fun of you about. Like, listen to me. I don't know what it is, man, but it's just so much freedom to when you can just open up your mouth and say, "I've battled with this." And you don't even know the ripple effect that's going to have when you say that and you open up your mouth and somebody else says, wait, you dealt with that? I dealt with that too. Or I'm going through that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a firm believer that we're not put on this earth for us. We're put on this earth to help somebody else. And the more you start thinking like that, the more you stop being selfish, right? Because life is not meant for you, right? Of course, we have certain things that we need to take care of ourselves, but life's not meant for you. Life is meant for you to help another individual out that is going through or is experiencing what you have been through. And so the third thing that I would say too is just always make sure, man, like, you know, go back. What did you document? What did you say that you want to accomplish? Right? Was that you getting real estate? Was that you writing a book? Was that you starting a vending machine? But I don't know what it is for you, but whatever that thing is to you, like keep that thing in your rear view. Like for real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like put it on your wall, right? Put it in your car. Like when you feel like in those moments and depressed states where you want to quit, you want to throw in the towel, like say to yourself, like, no, I can't. Like, this is the vision. This is the goal. Somebody is counting on me. Like for me, I know my children counting on me. Without a shadow of a doubt, right? Like they're counting on me. And so for me, like in those moments to where I want to bend, I want to break, I'm like, no, like Jamon deserves better. Aiden deserves better. Harmony deserves better. Like this is not for me, but this is for them and also their kids. You see what I'm saying? And also the
Mhm.
people that are coming behind me. And so just always understand like a vision's given to you, but it can't be completed by you. You're gonna need some other people that can help you push that vision. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would say to y'all, man, for sure, man. Just like don't stop. You've came too far. If you was gonna quit, you should have quit in 2020. You should have quit in 2019. Like, you're here now. You know what I'm saying? Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's great. And I think, for people listening is like your vision can change. Like when, several years ago, what my vision is now was not then.
Mm,
And that is okay. That's
yes.
okay for your vision to change because back then my vision was to get my psychology degree. My vision was to be a paramedic. My vision was to, climb the ladder within my department.
Yeah.
But things have changed. So guess what? I get to come back to the writing board. I get
Mhm.
to come back to that documentation and I get to make a new plan.
Come on.
And when you check something off your to-do list or your vision board, right? If you make that book, if you get that speaking gig, if you, whatever it is, if you get that vending machine, cool. Now set another one.
That's it.
Now set another step. Add the people in your life, that have been around you, the people that are in your life right this second are not going anywhere.
Mm,
It doesn't matter if they are negative or positive. They can be in your rear view mirror, right? They're still kind of around. You can limit your exposure to them, but the people also, when you're good to them, it may be 5 years, 10 years,
come on.
12 years.
Come on.
And they're like, hey, I've actually changed. And I'm like, good, I'm glad. And they may come back to you and they may say, you know what? I'm really sorry for that period of my life or that time or that phase. I didn't know what I didn't know, right? You have to be able to give them the grace as well. And there are people that you completely have to cut out of your life. I am 100% aware of that. And there's some things that just cannot be changed. But that doesn't mean that you have to go out and make their life miserable. Just let it be.
I love it. I love it. Hey man, I hope y'all taking notes, man, because she's spitting right now. She giving y'all that sauce. Woo-wee. Jeez. Hey, better go ahead, man.
I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to this because I'm just speaking it. Like these are my passions, right? Like sometimes your voice just got to get louder and more people need to know. And it's like more people need to understand like this life is not supposed to be terrible. Like this life is not supposed to be, darkness all the time. Like you can find little glimmers all throughout, nighttime. It's dark.
Right.
We have stars, we have the moon, we have other universes, right? It's not always pitch dark.
Mm, mm,
If we wait long enough, that sun will rise again.
yeah,
And it can in your life too.
that's good, man.
Boom.
Yeah. Boom. Yes, I love it. She's
Oh, all right. Before we wrap up, I feel like I took some of this away from some
no,
away
no,
from you,
no.
but
This is good. I'm loving it. Yes.
where do you see yourself with your vision? Like where do you see your goals and where you're wanting to go and who you're wanting to become?
Yeah, man. I think for me right now, sis, I think I'm in a place right now to where I know for sure without a shadow of a doubt that I want to create like a training um, company in regards to helping recovering drug addicts, homeless shelter, I mean, yeah, recovering drug addicts, homeless people navigate through life. You know what I'm saying? Get them clean, get them reacclimated with society, help them to get certain, certificates, make them feel good about themselves, and then have, a housing opportunity for them as well. Like just a whole big acre of lands upon lands, just really having that for them. Definitely giving back to my community, building a community center, state of the art community center for athletes and things of that nature. Um, Definitely for sure, multiple property units, um, you know, developing more speakers, uh, developing more coaches, and pretty much, man, just really, taking care of, people in other countries, whether it's clean water, you know, properties, whatever that may be, just really just trying to make sure that my legacy lives on when I'm no longer here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's super awesome. It's incredible to have those visions, to know what you're looking forward to knowing that, you know what, you can't do it all at one time. It may take you 10 years, but every step of the way, you're just gathering more information, you're gathering more data, you're gathering more people to help you achieve what you want to move forward with. And I think that's amazing vision, and I say fucking go for it.
All the way, baby. Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome. All right, William, how can people get in touch with you, follow along for your story, what you're doing, where you're speaking, and maybe if they need to reach out to you to be a speaker, where can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, man, just go to Will is Blessed, what I'm saying, on Instagram, literally. Go there, send me a DM, just yeah, I ain't worrying about no website. No, like go straight to Instagram. Everything you need is right there on the gram for sure. But I also want to say this before I go, man. I'm proud of you. Your energy is phenomenal. You're gonna do amazing things on top of what you're already doing, killing the game. And I just want to say this to everybody that's listening. I remember one of my old bosses said to me years ago when I worked for Crossroads in a meeting, and it changed my life. He said, "Your clients don't deserve your bad days." And I want to say this to you in 2023 terms is that, people don't deserve your bad days. We all go through bad days. We all go through struggle. We all go through. But at the end of the day, always find, what my sis said, the light. There's always a hint of light somewhere that you can be able to find that gratitude. Just have to appreciate life.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Well, I've had such a blast getting to talk with you, interview you, hear more about your life, get to spit off some knowledge myself.
Spitting. I'm like, all right, now you gotta go and calm down now. I'm about to interview you now. Like, hold on, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's super awesome. Well, listeners, I'm super happy that you have came along with this journey for me, another guest, another interview, just so much more knowledge to be able to give to you guys. And I will have all of his information in the show notes. So please feel free to reach out to him. Feel free to reach out to me. I absolutely love when people are able to do that. And don't be afraid to do that. That is literally what I did for William. I said, hey, you have a great message. I want you to come onto the podcast. And boom, it took us some time to be able to get you on, but those are things in the pipeline. Those are things where you're like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I know this hasn't been able to figure out a date, but like it's amazing when that happens and to see that progress and to be okay with the journey that you're going on. Like it is not about the destination, it is enjoying the process and being okay with that. So for that, I appreciate once again, William, coming on and being able to share some of your knowledge with us today.
Yeah. No, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's be great, baby. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, listeners, I will talk to you for another episode next week.